As far as I understand your statement, Mr. Alasow, the apartheid regime has been formally overcome, but maintaining a predatory capitalism that allowed the emergence of a black bourgeoisie, but keeping the immense mass of the poor, mostly black, in a situation of intense social exclusion. That's correct. I have synthesized your point of view.
Absolutely, but I would say that the only thing about apartheid that has really ended is the kind of like legal system, in the sense that it is now no longer legal for me to say that my children can only go to certain types of schools, etc. In real terms, though, we still see white schools, we still see hospitals that are meant for the rich. And you are right, there has been a degree to which there have been black people that have been able to break into this rank of the bourgeoisie. But for the most part, this is almost, and firstly, this is largely a negligible amount. But most importantly, the working class, the poor, the exploited, the suffering, the oppressed, the landless of today remain the same as the group that existed before. So structurally and socially, the apartheid continues in terms of how our cities are designed, who goes to our schools, how healthcare is attributed to people. So I would push back a little bit on your synthesis to say, really, this is a slight legal change. Practically, the pillars and the foundations have not been tampered with.
Who are the South African ruling classes? The black bourgeoisie, the old white bourgeoisie, or a collision between these two social fractions, factions?
So I think an interesting way of responding to that question is through the kind of factionalism that is currently on display within the ANC. So within the ANC, there is the kind of what is called the kleptocratic faction led by Jacob Zuma. Jacob Zuma was a president of South Africa for 2 terms. He was recalled towards the end, but ultimately presided over an administration where people loyal to him effectively were given an opportunity to make use of state infrastructure in order to enrich themselves. So this is the kind of one faction within the ANC. Within the ruling party, there are members of its national leadership which are currently suspended as a result of their, of course, corruption, but politically as a result of their kind of loyalty to what, let's call it, the Zuma faction. Then there is a faction led by Cyril Ramaphosa. I mean, those familiar with his biography, he was
Current president of the
that
country.
yes, he was a leader of the National Union of Mine Workers. Um, in the 1990s, led the team that negotiated with the National Party in the settlement that led to the elections in April 1994. Um, then moved into business, became a multi-billionaire in this country, and returned back to politics recently. He remains one of the richest men in this country. His brother-in-law, in fact, Patrice Motsepe, is the richest man in this country. And policies such as black economic empowerment have been used very effectively by people like Cyril Ramaphosa to effectively become a kind of get a seat at the table of white monopoly capital in this country. So these factions, they work together. They sponsored Ramaphosa's election campaign, etc. So who are the elites and who are the ruling classes? There's currently a tension among them and between the kind of group that sees the state as a vehicle for self-enrichment and the group that seeks to effectively continue a pure form of the economy that existed pre 1994. The truth that I think is most interesting for me and for those of us interested in freedom is that the voice, the interests of the masses of the working class are absolutely unrepresented in this discussion. So there is no section within the ANC today that is advancing an agenda that is concerned with emancipation in the sense that it was defined by the people who laid down their lives to win that 1994 democratic breakthrough.